Hi, and welcome back to BritNic's journal. So today we're picking up on the Understanding Grief series coming from the book Please Be Patient, I'm Grieving, How to Care for and Support the Grieving Heart. This book is for grievers and non-grievers, but in the aspect of the non-grievers supporting the grievers. So this is the book that I'm following. Today I'm actually, go away. Today I'm actually going to be playing my dad's piano CD on my computer for background music. We're going to be talking about emotions today. Yesterday and today have been one of those days for me, so yeah. I just feel like I kind of need my dad with me today. So my dad loved to play piano, so he recorded himself playing piano, so this is where this CD comes from. So we're going to hit play. And all right, so we're going to start with a Chapter 2 recap. Chapter 2's title was Respect Their Pain. The grieving heart is painful. The pain we feel as grievers is deeper and more intense than we ever could have imagined. It's like a pause button has been pushed on our life. Acceptance is difficult. Our world has changed forever. Life speeds on whether we want it to or not. Grief is confusing for us. We won't be ourselves for quite some time. It feels like we've been hit by a bus and we're lying in the middle of the road and don't know where to go. Feel free to join us. We aren't expecting you to say much because even we don't know what to say most of the time. And we won't be here forever, but having you beside us is all the support we need. Be patient with the grieving heart. We go in steps. And everybody's steps are in a different order. So, if you have multiple people in your life who have lost somebody, you'll notice that every person is grieving differently. So just be patient. That's all we ask for. So the title of Chapter 3 is what we're going to be covering today, is Accept Their Emotions. I'm going to start with a personal experience with this, and it's kind of lengthy just because it's about emotions. I could talk forever about it, but I'm going to talk about my personal experience before we actually hit on the chapter. So the emotions I faced when I first lost my dad were the most intense emotions I have ever felt in my life. One minute I would be happy, and the next I would be so angry I was shaking. Other times I would be okay, and then I would have a memory of my dad come up out of nowhere, and then I would cry for hours. It was like somebody turned on a faucet, and I had no control of when I could turn it off. Emotions become so strong when you're grieving the loss of your loved one. You really don't know what to do when they hit. It's shocking, it stuns you, it stops you in your tracks, and you're like, whoa, hold up. I don't know where this came from. Give me a minute to gather myself. It's like being on a roller coaster and not being able to get off. Emotions hit you at random times, and sometimes you know they're coming. Like I mentioned from Chapter 2, the grieving person has certain triggers now, but the emotions that follow can be crippling. In my case, I always get angry. So angry. Most of the time I don't even realize why I'm angry until I have a moment to sit and reflect on the why I'm angry. And then once I figure out what triggered me, then I can, start crying and get those emotions out. And I do feel better afterwards, but then sometimes it just starts all over. It's exhausting, confusing, it's very frustrating. But anger and sadness aren't the only emotions I've faced. I've had major anxiety. so bad that it clouds my judgment on the littlest decisions in my life. It's like you have this fog that just settles in your mind and you can't get rid of it. So it almost causes constant anxiety. I've been fearful in not knowing what will come next, which creates more anxiety, being fearful of the unknown. Like, my normal was my dad being in my life, and now it's unknown what's going to happen. Like, I went to my dad for everything. And he knew a lot. So for me not to go to him and him tell me or help guide me, it's an unknown for me, which causes anxiety. I have felt guilt knowing that there were some things that I wasn't able to tell my dad before he passed. And I know firsthand that this is my sister's strongest emotion, because she hadn't seen my dad in 2 months since my wedding, because she was in Alaska. And I felt numb. I felt absolutely nothing at times. And to me, this is the scariest emotion, because I don't know what emotion will follow once I come out of my thoughts. Even though I'm numb, my mind is racing with 1,000,001 thoughts, but without feeling. It's just like all I'm doing is thinking with no emotion. The end result of a racing mind is unknown. There are unresolved thoughts and emotions that are hard to grasp and explain. So it makes me angry and confused. And then those emotions come out towards other people. Y'all, straight up, my husband is such a trooper for handling my emotions the way he has. I'm a stay-at-home mom, so he's the person I'm constantly around. So he catches a lot of the backlash from my numb thoughts. But anyways, I could talk about this topic forever, but I won't, I promise. The point is, emotions are powerful enough on a day-to-day basis, but when you mix them with grief, you feel like you could destroy everything in your path with the snap of your finger. It's like the internal feelings of all of your emotions just come out and just blast everything. Word of caution I've learned since losing my dad: your emotions become so strong that they start to affect those around you. I know it is hard to control how you feel for quite some time, but eventually you learn how to curve your emotions around others. It gets easier. The whole grief process gets easier, but I think the emotions it's one of the hardest things that you have to learn how to control when you lose somebody, just because your emotions are so raw and exposed, that it takes a long time to learn how to control those. So we're gonna go into chapter 3. I'm gonna cut this down. All right, so chapter 3, like I said, is called Accept Their Emotions. It starts with the quote, "Where did all these emotions come from, and what do I do with them?" Grief is emotional. The grieving person's heart has been hit, and they will most likely be more emotional than usual. This is natural and normal. You can care for and support them by being aware of this and accepting them as they are. So this next part is from the grieving heart, so from me to you. My emotions are all over the place. I'm sad. At times the sadness is so intense I can hardly think. It's a cloud overhead I can't see through. It's a tightness in my chest, a lump in my throat. It weighs me down, my shoulders sag, my head is heavy, it presses on the back of my eyes. Y'all, grief is the heaviest thing I've ever carried on my shoulders. Heavier than stress, heavier than anxiety, because grief has all these sub emotions that tack onto it. that it's extra weight, and it is so heavy. There are moments I'm sure I could flood the room with tears. And I have, like I said, it's like a faucet that you have no control of when you can turn off. I'm anxious and even fearful at times. I've never been here before. I've had other losses, but this one is different. My heart is riddled with questions. What does this mean? How will I get through this? What's next for me? I'm scared and I feel shaky. I'm confused. Are these crazy emotions normal? What are others thinking? Am I going to come out of this in one piece? Y'all, you are broken into a million pieces when you lose a loved one. I was super, super close with my dad, and when he passed, I crumbled. My head is spinning. I get overwhelmed even while tackling the smallest things. I feel as if I have less and less space inside me. Even though you feel like you have the biggest hole in your heart, you still feel empty. Or you feel like you're getting overwhelmed with all these emotions, and you're just, I get angry. Why did this have to happen? Why now? Why us? And why me? So this part here, y'all, I'm a Christian. I believe in God. But when my dad passed, I questioned him. And sometimes I still do. I'm going to go ahead and admit that. Like, why did this have to happen to our family? We were an extremely tight-knit family. We were very, very close. My dad, was the root of our family. And when he suddenly passed away, all of us said, Raksha, go lay down. All of us said, why? Like, why us? Why did this have to happen to us? How dare my loved one leave? We weren't done yet. I wasn't done yet. And where was God? I'm not going to go into the details of how he passed other than it was a massive heart attack. But where was God? Why couldn't he keep my dad here? Why did he have to let him leave? I struggle with guilt. Things I said and didn't say, things I did and didn't do. Mistakes swim before my eyes. Past pain has invaded the present. I'm often numb. At times I feel nothing at all. My heart shuts down. I'm stunned and I'm paralyzed. Y'all, there are some things now that I feel like I should have feelings for, but I don't. Sometimes I feel like my heart is not where it should be. It's in a completely different place. I think I'm at a point in my grieving where I'm kind of selfish. Like, I feel like people should still feel sorry for me. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like, people should still, even 2.5 years later, should still acknowledge that I'm grieving and I'm in pain. But a lot of people don't remember. They don't know. So, they don't think that way. I'm a mess. Will I ever get it together? Please be patient with me. I'm grieving. So this next part is the explanation to the supporters of grievers. Grief is an emotional process. When loss comes, it hits the heart hard. Everyone has a natural balance of emotion and reason. This balance is different for all of us, influenced greatly by our backgrounds, experiences, and personalities. When grief strikes, emotion surges forward and often hijacks the heart. Multiple, seemingly contradictory feelings can assault us all at once. Emotion now occupies more space, and reason gets squeezed. Many describe grief as an emotional roller coaster. It's unpredictable, unnerving, and bumpy. Most roller coasters last a few minutes, but this one has no time limit, and it's anything but fun. Feeling overwhelmed, maxed out, or numb is often the result, and those feelings last a long time. Triggers are everywhere. Places, people, fragrances, foods, music, seasons, holidays. Almost anything can cause memories of departed loved ones to surface. The accompanying emotions can sweep over us in an instant, anywhere and anytime. Those in the midst of grief have not only been hit by the bus, they get run over by it again and again. It's not only the departure of the person that's difficult, but all the other losses that begin piling up as well. The future has changed. Certain goals, dreams, and plans are no more. Like, I have a 1-year-old daughter now. My biggest hope and dream was that my dad would still be here to see his grandchild or grandchildren grow up. But he's not, and that breaks my heart so many days when I start thinking about that he's not here to see her. But part of me, me being a Christian and believing in God, is that he's already met her, because she was truly a blessing, and I know she was sent to me and my husband from God to help try to mend my broken heart by giving me a child. Relationships will feel the weight of the loss too. The collateral damage can be staggering. This is painful, sad, and often produces anxiety and fear. Altogether, the emotional upheaval is enough to make a person feel crazy. Make no mistake, loss is tough. It hurts. Emotions explode and leak all over the place. Then this next section is titled, Are They More Emotional? Be encouraged. If the one grieving is more emotional than before, be encouraged. They should be. This emotional roller coaster is natural and normal for grief. Your friend isn't crazy, but they are in a crazy situation compared to their usual routine. They may be having trouble accepting themselves in this emotionally confusing state. Don't try to talk them out of their feelings. It won't work. Resist the temptation and try to make them feel better. You won't be able to. Oh wait, let me reread that. Resist the temptation to try and make them feel better. You won't be able to. Instead, accept them where they are with all those nutty up and down emotions. If you can, it just might help them accept themselves. With all the emotional upheaval, they probably don't feel or act like themselves. In cases of heavy, close losses, they might even question who they are now and why they're here. And in chapter 4, we'll go over what y'all can do as supporters to the grievers in chapter 4. So it ends with these quotes. Grief is emotional. No wonder your feelings are all over the place. I accept you as you are. And this other one is by C.S. Lewis. No one ever told me that grief felt so like fear. And this next one is by Earl Grolman. Grief is not a disorder, a disease, or a sign of weakness. It is an emotional, physical, and spiritual necessity, the price you pay for love. The only cure for grief is to grieve. So I'm going to go into another personal, I don't want to say story, but personal, like what I'm doing now. If you're like me, you find that your emotions are out of control. I had a serious case of pride, thinking that I could get through this not normal journey on my own. That just made everything worse, because when I couldn't figure out how to control or shift my emotions, it would make me even more angry. So long story short, I finally broke down and went to therapy. It took me a little over 2 years to accept the fact that I needed outside help. Since I've been going, I've realized that going to therapy is not a weakness by any means. That it's okay to get help, especially when you're grieving. It helps to have other ideas presented to you as guidance, because a lot of times you aren't thinking clear enough to expand your thoughts past just thinking about your loved one, or what to do just in that moment. Like, I'm talking about thinking outside of the box to help you in the long run, not just that day or that hour or whatever. Please consider going to talk to someone. Everyone's grief journey is different, so I can't tell you to do the things that I'm doing, because they might not help you. So seeking help is not weak. It just means that you're getting stronger. You're wanting to move forward. Your loved one will never be forgotten. All you want to do, all therapy does is help you find new and healthier ways of coping. So ending this with, I'm sending my love to everyone grieving the loss of a loved one. I feel you, I feel your pain, and I feel your emotions. We're all at different parts of the process of healing, but we're all in this journey together. I really hope these videos are helping you guys. We have several more videos to go. So subscribe to my YouTube channel, BritNic's Journal. Find me on Facebook, BritNic's Journal. I do have an Instagram, BritNic Journal _2028. So that's it for today, and I'll see you guys next time.